G'day all, welcome back to the G-Man Show. I'm your host, G-Man. We are going to be talking my favourite topic today, tax. This is how we get fully charged up for a ramp. It's going to be coming. This video is called Making Everyone Pay for Their Problems. Small businesses slugged with the new Victorian tax. It's great. Victorian, the taxation state. Let's jump into it. We'll see what Pricey has to say.
Nationals Victorian leader Danny O'Brien joins us now from Leongatha. Danny, great to have you with us. And small business owner Mark Sutherland, who operates his own ice cream business in the southeast of Melbourne. Gentlemen, welcome. Can I first go to you, Mark? You open up the rates notice. There it is, the new Emergency Services and Volunteers Levy, awful name. How much difference between that and your old Fire Services Levy?
Okay, well, Steve, the first thing that the old eyes were widened was when I looked at my rates, and the rates were $17.20 and the levy was $17.38. So I'm paying more in levy than the rates. And the increase last...
That's absolutely extortionate, isn't it? That's why we got so many small businesses either going to the wall or having to increase their prices to the point where they can't even get that many more customers because there's only a certain amount of money that people are going to pay for a scoop of ice cream. I know it's the middle of winter or at the end of winter now. In Victoria, Australia. But when it starts warming up, I mean, how much can you charge for a scoop of ice cream? Like $10 because you're getting taxed. What is it? $1,738 just for the new fire levy, emergency services levy. And guess what? He's going to have to raise his prices. And guess who pays? Guess who pays the tax? He's just going to pass it on to the customers like any business probably would. You're paying. I'm paying. This will be happening to many small, medium-sized businesses across the board. Prices are going up. Cost of living crisis, guys. We're going to bring the cost of things. We're going to get inflation tamed. We're there for you. We know everyone's hurting. Vote for us. Here we go. This is what happens.
Last year was $6.29 and this year it's $17.38. So we're not quite three times the value, Steve. So I'll tell you what, they wonder who's going to pay the bills. Well, not us, I guess. It's my poor customers who are now going to have to pay more for ice cream.
And your poor old councils are the ones that have been told they've got to collect this. I mean, we can't blame them. I mean, we need to let every Victorian know that this money goes straight to the Jacinta Allen government. Whether it ever has anything to do with volunteers, I'll ask Danny about in a moment. But, I mean, how do you absorb that into your cost? You've got to put up the cost of your products, I guess.
Absolutely, Steve. The old person that's voting for the wrong government who thinks it's us are going to foot the bill aren't. We're just going to pass it on. And I guess when we open in 3 weeks, ice cream prices are going to be going up to cover this money.
That'll probably be happening across the board. As I said, for a lot of these small to medium operators, and I know the large ones, I don't know if they're paying it, they probably are, the multinationals, but that'll be like a drop in the bucket for them. Hands in the pockets of everybody, hands in the pockets of the little people. You know why? Because you can't do anything about it. It's been property investors, now it's small business. Who's next? And I'm going to talk about who's next. It'll be taxing any capital gains on the sale of a primary place of residence. That's what's coming. Or unrealised capital gains tax. Absolutely bonkers. We're broke. And guess what? We're all going to be paying for it. Hands in our pockets. They're going to get the Scrooge McDuck vacuum. They're going to turn that on and they're going to just suck all that money out of your pockets. Every last cent they can get out of you, they will.
I can understand why you're not open this weekend. It's going to be 12 and raining. I don't think even the most ice cream loving person would want to have an ice cream. But anyway, Danny, really good to have you with us. We've got some other examples already. We expect farm businesses are those that are going to be hardest hit. Now, the Premier, I think, says farmers will not pay this levy this year. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. After a fairly strong campaign from the Nationals and Liberals, but also our farm sector, our CFA volunteers, the government has backed down. But it's a one-year reprieve, Steve, from a 150% increase in the rate the government was going to charge farmers. 1 year only, sensibly from the drought, and we certainly welcomed that. But this should be scrapped altogether. It's not a 1 year reprieve that we're after. We're after a reprieve completely because it's businesses like Mark, it's our farmers, our residences right across the state. And this is one of the things, to be frank, it's been a bit frustrating that people think this is only a farmer's tax. It's actually every single homeowner in Victoria, every commercial business, every industrial business facing this massive increase, and most of them finding out about it now as their rates notices appear in their mailboxes.
I don't know who sits there in these offices for these government departments, whether it's Treasury or whoever comes up with this, and says, you know what, what's a reasonable increase to the tax so we can try and get some more revenue in to waste the money, essentially. Not going to pay down your debt and responsibly manage it. Let's get some more money that we can just spend, piss up against the wall like we do every single year. Oh, you know what's a good increase? It sounds pretty reasonable. 150%. Not 15, not 10, which is big by any means. 150. Okay. Who signs off on that? Well, clearly the government, who have people working for them and are run by people who have never run a business for the most part, especially if you're a Labor, a business operator. Never had a real job, working government your whole life. Go to uni, go to your young Labor's debating club, and then you're straight out and you're a staffer at a minister's office, and then you climb your way up the ranks, never having to partake in the real world. Yeah, 150%. That's what also gets me charged up. It's where a lot of businesses are copping it and going to the wall, especially here in Victoria, is that land tax. So land tax, there have been some examples, and I'm sure they're not isolated examples, where for say 10 years ago, the price has gone up of the land tax by 20 times, 2,000%. So who sits in an office and works that out and thinks that's going to be sustainable by a business? Oh, you make money? Let's take some of that. And guess what happens? You get people made retrenched, or businesses closing down, not even bothering. There you go. Welcome to Victoria, guys. Absolute circus.
Can you believe that example we just had? That increase is just horrendous.
It's literally 100% increase. The rate of increase is 100% for every residence, every commercial business. It's a 64% increase for every industrial business. And as I said, next year, 150% for every primary production. That's a massive hit at a time at a cost of living crisis. I'm sure Mark doesn't have the spare cash to be able to absorb that. I'm sure his customers are going to be struggling as well, because ice cream's a bit of a luxury. So this is a real hit to the Victorian economy, and it's all because Labor can't manage money. This has got nothing to do with supporting our emergency services, because, in fact, Steve, the Government Gazette the government has published has shown that Fire Rescue Victoria, CFA and SES budgets are actually going down this year.
You tell them, Danny. Spot on, mate. Couldn't have said it better myself. So we're living in they call it a cost of living crisis. It's not a crisis. It's a new normal. That's the world we're living in. Prices are staying high. They're not going down. A crisis is something temporary that eventually is remedied. This isn't going nowhere. It's going to get worse. So have a think about this. Let's raise a tax by 150% for small business owners or medium business owners, when people already are having all of their discretionary income sucked out of the economy by either raising rents caused by increased mortgage rates by banks to investors, and also people just trying to keep their home as primary place of residence. So where's the money coming from for people to actually spend this money in the economy? Because I'm pretty sure ice cream, for the most part, is going to be something that people go, you know what, probably could do without that $9 scoop of gelati. Whoever makes these decisions, where's the money coming from? Whoever makes these decisions, obviously they're not good ones. They're just good, good policy, good on paper. Well, we need more money. Let's just hit these guys with this other bullshit tax that we've made up.
Mark, could this potentially cost a youngster a job serving ice cream in the shop over summer because you won't be able to afford to pay them?
Well, I don't know if it's that harsh, Steve, but I think the thing is you have a threshold on your prices of ice creams, and, you get to a point where people suddenly say, well, hang on, do I really need a little luxury item like that? So I'm sort of, certainly I think there's going to be a little bit of pushback, but he's
going to have to eat it, figuratively. He's probably going to have to eat the cost, because I think ice cream, once they start taking the piss on the prices of that, people will just walk past it.
The thing is, I can't stress enough from my behalf that people just don't understand that it's a tax on them. It's not a tax on these business owners. It's the government is really making everybody pay for their problems.
So explain to me how they calculate that, Mark. Do you own that shop where your ice cream business is based, do you?
I happen to own the building. Yes, I do, Steve. So I've got the rates here, and as I said, my rates this year $17.20, fire levy $17.38. Last year fire levy was $6.29. So $6.29, it's nearly 3 times. It's now $17.38. So yeah, I do own the building, Steve. So obviously, if I didn't own the building again, I'd be handing it on to the tenant anyway because it's an outgoing. So again. The poor tenant, if I had one, or he'd be paying and still passing it on. So either way, the poor old customer pays for the government's not being able to handle the economy.
I don't know how so his rates notice has gone up, the fire levy from 600 and something bucks to almost 1,800 bucks. What's that telling you? Complete extortion. You can't do anything about it. You just got to bend over and maybe a bit of coconut oil and take it. If they're generous, might be a bit of sand. It's a bit of sand as lube at the moment.
Danny, so I own a farm. As I understand it, I won't pay the levy this year, but going forward, I don't pay the levy on the home block, but I pay it on everything else. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's right. There's some exemptions for the primary residence of the farmer. But even that is capped up to a value of $5 million. So you can claim it exemption on one property, if you like, up to a value of $5 million. Now, that might sound like a lot, Steve, but as you know, our farms have got bigger. Farmland has got more valuable, and there's not too many farms that are serious that are going to be getting that exemption across the board. There's a lot of value in our farms, and it's just a tax that shouldn't be added. It's effectively a de facto land tax on our farmers. That's why the Nationals and Liberals have committed to repealing this tax. It is a tax on production. It's a tax on homes. It's a tax on business, and it's not about supporting our emergency services. It's actually about filling budget black holes. Okay.
That's it. Let's go after small business. Let's not try and shake down the large end of town because they've got no balls to take them on, because those companies have got all the money in the world to lobby and structure their tax in a way legally that they don't have to pay much here. Now let's just take on the guy who cannot really afford it. Bullies, really. You got companies making record profits. All these tech companies and all this sort of stuff, Atlassian and all that, Canva. Start raiding them. Hit them up with some new bullshit made-up tax. You won't do that. Now, let's go for the ice cream shop and the small farm, where it's just standover tactics. You have to pay and that's it. Let's put up council rates. Let's put up land tax for businesses. You're getting hit from all angles.
I mean, one of the things, Danny, that really pees me off about this is that many of these farmers are the actual very volunteers that the people in the tax hikes in the title. That's why I hate the title. These are the people, when a fire starts, who are down at the CFA shed within 20 minutes, jumping on a truck, putting their lives at risk to put the fire out.
Spot on.
Absolutely spot on. And that's why we had a lot of anger, I think, particularly from the western districts of the state this year, where hundreds, if not thousands, of CFA volunteers were fighting fires in the Grampians through summer. At the same time, they were hearing news that they'd be facing this tax on their farms. Now, there are exemptions for volunteers, but even then, many of those volunteers won't be able to get them if they're not the actual owner of the property, or if their wife's name or their husband's name is on the property, then the volunteer won't necessarily be able to get them. So there's some failings in that too. But it's literally, yes, as you said before too, you don't like the name for a very good reason, because the government's trying to use the good name of volunteers to slug all Victorians with this tax. And yet it's the volunteers that are being the worst bit. And they are the ones that are on the back of the truck fighting fires around our state.
That's it. You won't have the Treasurer or Jacinta Allen out there with a hard hat on when there's a huge fire going, and with a hose standing there. People not living in the real world, disrupting volunteers who give up their own time and a lot of time, money, to even service their own equipment, use their own time and resources to help the community. Let's slug them. Let's try and create a tax that really doesn't really benefit them that much, so we can raise some revenue. Just a waste on some bullshit infrastructure, suburban rail loop. No one wants it. Who needs a train from Cheltenham to Box Hill? Like, who put their hand up for that? How many people said, "Oh, you know what? I wouldn't mind going from Cheltenham station to Box Hill." I've never thought of that.
It's a really grubby tax. Just before you go, I mean, the other thing about it, Danny, is we all know, and you'd appreciate this too, Mark, once they introduce a tax or a levy like this, there's nothing stopping them putting it up every year from here until kingdom come.
And they will.
Well, absolutely, Steve.
Danny, something that could be... Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
Sorry, something can be pursued, Danny, is just this small amount that I'm paying. I'd love to know the figure, and I have heard it bandied about, $3 or $4 billion in tax. You can't tell me they're going to spend that on essential services. I'm sure a lot of that's going to be softened from paying debts. I wonder how much of that's going to be put towards digging these holes everywhere. It's a lot of money, $3 or $4 billion.
Spot on, mate. Spot on. All right, let's move on to another BS tax. Now, if you're enjoying the content, guys, probably far more than halfway through today, consider subbing to the channel. Just hit 8K subs, so next target 10. So yeah, help the G-Man out. Give that a like, comment, and sub. Let's try and get the channel charging on all cylinders. All right, so let's talk about this one. This is a bit of a wider bulletin. I might not watch the whole thing. So once again, the government looking for ways to generate tax. And this video here, this news is about proposing to tax the family home. So any sort of capital gains made from the sale of a home. Not that they're already not taxing it, and I'll get into that. We're going to tax the family home even more, so they're going to start rating capital gains. Because for those of you who aren't aware, a home that you live in that has been your primary place of residence that you own is exempt from capital gains tax. Unless you move and rent it out, and you do get a 6-year concession if you don't buy another property in which you make your PPOR, primary place of residence. So if you go on rent, that's what people do. They rent first, they have it for 6 years, and then they try and move back in once they can handle the payments more. It's a bit of a strategy people have been using to get into a place or buy a property in a place that they may want to live. Well, that won't be happening. All right, let's jump in.
Welcome back. Well, some leading financial experts are urging the federal government to consider taxing the family home.
Let me guess, people who don't have a family home. All these people who come up with all these taxes, they're either not small business people, they have no commercial sense, no understanding of the economy, finance, anything. It's just, let's get some more tax for equality. That's the thing that they use. And people will vote for this. People who aren't homeowners will vote for this because they'll say, well, it's going to bring down the price of property. Apparently.
when discussing economic reform at next week's roundtable. Treasury estimates it loses $50 billion a year by exempting owner-occupiers from capital gains tax.
You're going to love that. Hang on. They're losing revenue that's never existed in the first place. Just think about that language, right? As we said, as I say in a lot of these videos, you're just a pay pig. All we are is a body bag that goes to work and we pay tax to the government, council rates, blah, 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 blah. That's really all we're really useful for. Oh, we're losing money by not having a tax that has never existed. $50 billion, some genius in Treasury or wherever it is sitting there. Get stuffed. Get your hands off it.
While economists argue a tax on homes would reduce inequality and lead to increased investment in more productive ventures. Joining us this afternoon on the debrief is James Royce from Southern Cross Austereo and Kate Emery from the West Australian. Good afternoon to both of you. This is certainly controversial. We've seen lots of government from both sides saying they will never tax the family home. Important to mention that this is recommendations from some financial experts. What do you think about
financial expert? Good on you. Everyone has a vested interest. Everyone is self-interested. If these people had maybe owned a home, would they want to do it? Who knows? But think about what we pay already. Before they get into it, I'll give you my rant and then I'll let them have a crack. So what do we pay? Number one, we pay stamp duty, an extortionate amount of money when you purchase your primary place of residence or any property for that matter. So in Victoria, and these percentages do change between the states, Victoria, to my understanding, is 5.5% of the total sales price. So say, for instance, you pay $1 million for a house, which isn't far-fetched at all these days. It's almost bloody standard, if not on the cheaper side for a home, depending on where you buy it. 55 grand. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. So on top of having to save the deposit and the money for all the other associated costs, and also trying to have a buffer, an emergency fund as well, you got to drop 5.5% of the property. Like that's just enough money as it is already. How they can say that 55 grand stamp duty? Think about it. What is it? It's them getting a clip of the ticket for doing nothing. What are they doing in this transaction? There's nothing the government does at all. And you're paying rates, and you're paying land tax. What are they actually doing to get the money here in that extortionate amount? That's the thing you got to be careful about with taxes, especially that fire services one. So maybe stamp duty would have been 5.5%. Who knows when that started? But think about it. If it's on a $10,000 house back in the day, that's $500. And if you were to change the value of that, escalated it to $25, what is it, maybe $3,000? I'm just using a rough example here because obviously properties have inflated absolutely through the roof. So it isn't like it's capped. It just keeps going. It's the gift. It's the gift that keeps giving. The more the property market goes up, people say, "Oh, the government needs to do something about property price." They're not going to do nothing about it. Why? Because a lot of these politicians are large-scale property investors. When I say large-scale, for me, that's more than one investment property and a home. Some of these got 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 of them. So they're not going to try and bring the prices down. But also it's fantastic for the government because as these prices keep going up, that's more stamp duty, you beauty. How good is that? That's more land tax for people who are investing. And so what they want to do is they want to make sure you're paying your clip of the ticket as selling your primary place of residence. So what does that stop from happening? That stops people from being mobile. No one will ever sell their house. So it makes it actually worse. Old people will just stay in their house until the day they die. Maybe they would have sold it and downsized and used that tax-free profit from the family home to buy themselves a townhouse, a unit somewhere. And then that home that they've sold can become a family home for a younger family to enjoy or to be able to buy. That just won't happen now. People just stay in there. There's no point. Like, why are you going to sell your house if you're going to pay all that capital gains tax? It takes the benefit out of that arrangement. So there'll be no mobility. It'll be reduced.
About this, James?
I think no. We pay enough tax. We pay far too much tax. When you buy a house, you pay stamp duty. Guess what? That is a tax, and it's based on the home's value. Every year we pay rates. They are a tax. Taxes are a disincentive. Why do you think Donald Trump is placing them on imports? He wants to stop products going in. He wants to make products in America. Taxes are a disincentive. If we put more taxes on things, we're going to scare off property investors. We've got a housing shortage as it is. That would only get worse.
Kate, for a lot of families, especially with elderly parents, being able to sell the family home enables either those older people to have money in the bank to try and live on to retire, which means they're not having the pension, or more importantly, it gives the family the opportunity to afford to put them into aged care.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think those are two great reasons why this is never going to happen. I think most Australians still regard the family home as the single biggest investment that they're going to have in their lifetime. And no government that has any desire to be re-elected is going to make homeowners think that, that investment is at risk. I think, if the government is serious about tax reform, there's some much lower hanging fruit like negative gearing on investment properties, like hands off the family home. I don't see it happening.
Yeah, great point.
All right. So, once again, negative gearing. I'm sick and tired of hearing this like it's the silver bullet that's going to make everyone be able to afford a house at a 50% discount. It's going to have a nominal effect. It's going to be next to nothing. It'll be absorbed by the market. Some properties, some people who cannot absorb any ongoing cash flow losses will sell. Those will be picked up by people who can, and we'll move on, and property prices will keep going up. It isn't going to be a silver bullet that just crashes the whole thing. My opinion on negative gearing, get rid of it. If your business strategy, if your investing strategy, if you're someone who's investing in property is to lose money and then try and claim it, I mean, it's not very smart, is it? Because regardless of if you get negative gearing tax breaks and get some of that loss back, you've still lost money. It's not a very good investment. Investments are supposed to make money. Now, on that token, trying to do it in 2025, buying at today's prices with today's interest rates, you're going to be in the hole instantly. That's why I say people say, investors buying houses, and it's just like a money printing factory. It's the biggest scam out there that people buy into this dream. That you continue to throw money into the bin, hand over fist on a monthly basis. It's an erosion of your cash flow, and you're hoping one day, if you can sustain it for 10, 20, 30 years, you'll sell that house, make enough capital gain to absorb all of those years of losses. Because probably the first 10 to 15, if you're going off the standard mortgage system, and you don't refinance, it'll probably take you 15 years to get to a point where the rent will probably cover just the mortgage itself, not all the costs, if you just have a normal deposit. So for the first 15 years, you're bleeding money just on the interest, let alone all the other stuff, insurances, council rates, land tax, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, that's enough of a rant about that. It's enough of a rant about that. Good old negative gearing. I think that they will, though. So a lot of people out there could vote for this. Well, Labor just got in again, and look what's happening once again. So, and this is not an anti-Labor channel. As I said, I don't like any of the parties, really. I don't follow any of them. But Labor's gotten in, and the absolute opposite of what they said will happen has happened, which was they're going to combat the cost of living, and they're going to make sure Victorians have and Australians have a better standard of living. Everything's going up, and they're introducing more tax, which then pushes the price of other things up, as we saw at the start of this video. But so people, we go, who's gonna vote for their home to be taxed? People who don't have a home, and that population of people, because it's very challenging out there, is increasing year on year. People of all ages, so people will vote for that. Not people with family homes, but that that percentage of people who own or have a mortgage will become smaller and smaller as the older generations die off. And while it might not happen right away, I can see it happening in the future. And guess what? Then they're going to get their hands on that. And then once again, it's just once they get in and a tax gets up, it isn't like it's capped or it's all these taxes, are pegged to escalation. No, they just go on, grow infinitely. Look at land tax, biggest scam in the world. Stamp duty, biggest scam in the world. Land tax, think about it. You own that land. You bought that property. So hang on. You need to pay tax on the land that you own, and for what? Like, seriously, what is it for? Or what is it for? Biggest scam of all time. All right, that's enough ranting. As I said, tax is going to charge me up. See you in the next video, guys.